late presentation. So you tend to have gross inflammation of the vulva and vagina. Well, not vagina, but the vulva, which is the outside portion where you'd have the lips and the clitoris and so forth. And it would also extend back to affect the anus, which is the hole where we would defecate through, and the surrounding skin. Now, the skin tends to change color, right? It tends to have this shiny wax paper looking appearance, and it tends to be intensely itchy. So you tend to have a lot of itching. Sometimes you'll have bleeding. You'll have what we term sclerosis, which is the it's like a type of scarring, right? And you'd find that the anatomy will start getting smaller and smaller, right? So I can remember having a patient once, and I was putting in a urinary catheter. That's the thing, so that you could help someone to pee. And I had hell to get in the catheter because the vagina was so badly strictured that I was unable to find the the urethral meatus, which is the hole where the urine would come from, right? And these are things, these are real things that happen. So the thing that normally complicates the life of a lot of people is what we would term sexual dysfunction, and it's because of pain. So this pathology, as I mentioned, can occur in childhood. Okay, so if your parents listening and you're seeing something like this on your baby daughter, right, you need to seek help because it's nothing but trouble down the road. Okay, and if you are a lady suffering from this sort of a condition, I would like for you to know that there is help. Okay, so let me just give a little bit more of the description so that you could know what to look for, how it comes. So normally, the episiotomy, that's where we would clip the vagina for ladies to have childbirth, right? So that scar or any scars in the perineum or the genitoanal region, okay? Any scars in that area tends to be a hot spot if you've had radiation therapy to that area. There's some vaccines that have been known to be causative of this sort of pathology, right? And there's even the appearance of a bacteria, but it hasn't really been confirmed. And this bacteria, I'm not really going to call the name, but it's a really long, crazy one. But this bacteria, for some reason, there seems to be a correlation, but there's never been enough evidence where it's concerned so that it can be definitively said that it's a potential trigger. Okay? So what happens? You tend to have white bumps on the skin, right? Or shiny bumps on the skin in the area. They tend to be intensely itchy. They tend to come mostly on the lips, right? The vulval lips, or for layman terms, the vagina lips, okay? Both the big ones and the small ones. And, to differing degree, the problem can continue where you can have spider veins developing. You could have, how would I call Boli again? Blisters, right? You could have some blisters appearing. You could even have bleeding, right? And the sad thing about this condition, it has been known to be associated with vulvovaginal cancer, okay? So it's normally advantageous to deal with it in the early stages rather than wait for it to manifest. Now, in men, it likely does affect children also. Oh, and before I forget, it's also a cause of constipation in young girls, right? Because it's painful, they tend to not want to go to the toilet that often, and the lack of going to the toilet normally, it persists into constipation. And I'm going to be talking a little bit about constipation in a while, so I'll leave that there. Right? So these are some of the things, parents, that you could look at and start questioning, could my daughter have lichen sclerosis? Okay? Now, if it's a little boy, now, if you remember, it's common for young boys to have, for you to have trouble to pull back the foreskin over the penis, right? But as the penis grows, as the person will go through puberty, that tends to go away. Now, what happens in this disorder is the foreskin seems to be the epicenter of this disease, mostly in young boys. And what happens is you have what we call a primary or secondary phimosis, which is stricturing or scarring, contraction, right? That's the word I was looking for. Contraction of the skin, and it makes this tight ring. And what happens is you have difficulty to push back the skin over the head. And sometimes if you push the skin back over the head, it can lock, right? And that in itself can cause another big problem, okay? So there we have it. Those are the main ways that it presents in young boys. However, if left alone, right, you can obviously see how you could have problems here and why these young boys would be not inclined to having sex, because this is an extremely painful pathology. And the young girls, as they grow, you can also see why they would likewise not be inclined to have sex, because of pain. Okay? These things, you have a lot of pain and a lot of trauma, right? Now, progressing into the adult... Hello? Okay, well, let's take a short break and we'll be right back.
There's nothing like having the right accessories for your portable devices. It makes them function seamlessly with all your other portable at-home work and play. There is no place like Anchoba Marketing to find all your needs. All our accessories make your device function better, look better, and last longer. So come visit us at number 55 Public Market for all your needs. We are open from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday, and Saturday from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. Anchoba for all your needs.
Watch yourself, Roy! You think you're a young boy again?
Age is just a number. I'm making sure I can play with my kids until they're big and strong like their dad.
Really? How is that? You have a new tonic?
No. 7 Seas cod liver oil once a day makes me feel younger every day. It has vitamin A and D and omega-3 to keep my mind sharp, my bones strong, and my immune system healthy for longer. Good! You see that? I'm as strong as ever.
7 Seas cod liver oil is the trusted source for nature's richest resource. Feel younger for longer.
This is Observer Radio.
You're listening to the Be Healthy Show on New School Observer Radio.
All right. Thank you for staying tuned with us. Just paying a bit of homage to our sponsors, and we do encourage everyone, please support them, because by supporting them and letting them know that you are liking the show, or you use the information that you might have gathered from the show, you would keep us on the air, because, that's what this thing is all about, right? So let them know that you appreciate what they're doing. Support them, as the monies that you give to them is reciprocated to keep us on the air. All right? So I was talking about the young boys. So as these young boys now become men, because the pathology can present either when you're a young child or in your adult years, right? So in adult years, the way this presents in a man is you have the same stricture, right, of the skin, or the contraction of the skin forming this ring that can't go back over the head of the penis. Some men, it actually doesn't affect the foreskin that badly, but it affects the head of the penis and the hole that the urine needs to come out. And when that happens, you can have a real serious problem. Some people have even gotten such a hard time that, they end up in kidney failure, right? Because the urine can't come out and you're having this backup of urine, okay? In men, it's also characterized by this itchy color change on the head of the penis or the body of the penis. Sometimes you could even have changes in the morphology of the penis, meaning the way the penis look or how it's shaped, right? So the penis can either develop a curve, or it can, look as if there's a piece bitten out of it, where the tissues have sclerose, right? And I would like you to know there's another pathology very similar, which is called Peyronie's disease, right? And the treatment that I'm going to be talking about also assists both of these conditions, okay? So these conditions, all, both male and female, are associated with penis cancer, right? And I have had patients, sadly, that I've seen right here in our little 268 with cancer of the head of the penis, okay? And this disease is one of the things that leads to cancer of the head of the penis. More specifically, SCC, which is squamous cell carcinoma of the vulva in the case of the woman, or head of the penis in the case of the man, okay? So I'm trying my best to keep this as simple as I can. So if it's going over your head, please forgive me. But you could call in and say, Doc, simplify that, go over that. I'm always happy to reiterate, okay? Now, how is it that we could actually treat these things? Now, if you check the medical literature, the treatments are either extremely expensive, or it's going to be steroids, and the steroids are going to lead to other complications, and, round and around it goes. So at Be Healthy, we actually have treatment for this and other conditions, and they actually work, and they work well. So what am I talking about? I'm talking about those stem cell therapies that you hear me talking about periodically. The O shot for the woman and the P shot for the men. And what it does is we take some of your blood, we filter out the healing cells, and then we reintroduce them into the area, and we get, marked assistance in the alleviation of symptoms. And some guys, they feel as if it's life-saving, okay? Just, when was it? Day before yesterday, I had a patient, a man, whom I treated for this same condition, and he said to me, listen, I was having problems with my wife, because obviously you're avoiding sex, and as far as she's concerned, the only reason you're avoiding sex is because you have another woman out there, right? So he's like, his whole relationship is in trouble. right? When he would attempt to have sex, he would either end up bleeding, in pain. You know, I mean, it's so many problems, right? We did the procedure, and he came back in follow-up, I think it was yesterday, if I'm not mistaken, and he said to me, listen, Doc, my pain, the pain I was having in my penis, I would classify it as an 8. And now I would say that my pain is at 0.4. Okay? So these are the things that give me satisfaction to know that I have been able, through such a simple method, been able to save this guy's relationship and disband all the fears that he probably was with somebody else. And I like when you come with your significant other so that these things can be explained and we can, you know, deal with everything in a group, because that's what marriage is all about. It's a commitment to be with someone and to stay with that person and work things out. So, the topic for today's show, Shango. Shango, you with me?
Yeah, yes, I'm right here.
So, today, you know what I mean, we wanted to talk about blood detoxification, constipation, you know, all of these things, how one correlates to the other. And I asked myself this simple question, right? Did you know the average person doesn't know how much blood they have inside of them? You know that? Because
well, I would expect them to know.
Yeah, but look at this, right? How much blood does the average person have? I mean, you hear about, my 5 gallon, you think about a whole bucket, right? A bucket of blood. And that's the typical saying, right? So I'm here on a website, right? And let's calculate how much blood you have inside you, Shango. If you don't mind, how much do you weigh? What's your weight?
I am about, presently, because I've lost a lot of weight, I'm presently about 160.
Okay, 160 pounds, right? And the next question I have is, what sex are you? You're a man. So then we go to our results. So you have approximately 5 liters of blood, right? 5.5 liters of blood. So what does that mean for the average person? 5.5 liters is approximately 1 point something gallons, maybe 1.3, 1.5 gallons, right? So what does that mean in regular people terms? That means one of that 5 liter bottle, the water bottle with the handle. Right. One of that is inside the Shango, and one of the little bottles that we drink, the 500 mils. Right? That's how much blood Shango would have. Okay? So let's do over this equation to see if we can shed a little bit more light. Let's say you're a man and you weigh 250 pounds, right? How much blood are you likely to have? You're looking at roughly 8 milliliters, 8,000 milliliters of blood. So you're looking now at almost 2 of those containers. You realize how far we are from a bucket of blood, Shango?
Wow.
You see that, right? So the average person will not have that much blood inside of them, right? So, you know what I mean? I just want people to get that that understanding. So when you see, you know what I mean, somebody bleeding, right? And you're asking yourself, well, how much of their blood is that, right? You should be able to know, quantify, or get a rough idea with regards to the amount of blood and in the person and the amount of blood lost and all of that, all right? The next question I have is, what's inside of blood? You know, what is blood made of? So blood is almost entirely water. And inside of this water, we have electrolytes, which are salts. We have proteins, right? Some of these proteins are, I'm sure some of you might have heard of albumin and, all of these things. Another thing that we have inside of blood will be, what do you call the thing now, Damien? Antibodies, right? And where do these antibodies come from? They come from blood cells. Hello? Am I on? Oh, okay. So you have blood cells. So what are the different types of blood cells? Okay. So we have white blood cells, red blood cells, blood cell fragments that we call platelets. Okay? So the white blood cells are further divided into two groups. So we have what we call the lymphocytes, which are the ones that produce the antibodies. And then we have the granulocytes. So the granulocytes, those are the ones that would technically morph and eat, right? So those are the ones that engulf infected material. So one set, their job is to shoot and kill, and the other set, they engulf so that that material can be removed from the body, okay? Then you have platelets. So the job of the platelets are to stimulate regeneration or regrowth or healing, okay? And they are one of the key cells that we use when we are doing what we would term a pre-stem cell procedure, okay? Because inside of these platelets, they have what we call growth factors and chemotactic factors, which just mean chemicals that call other cells, right? Another group of the stem cells that we use are some of the lymphocytes, and they're called CD34 plus cells, okay? And what these things do, they are what we call primordial stem cells, okay? So what these guys are going to do is they're going to go and try and change into other cells. They have the capacity to move from being one cell and turning into another cell, okay? But that now all depends on the cell line that you're talking about, because a brain cell can't become a skin cell, okay? So it all has to do with, differentiation and where they are with regards to differentiation. And then we have the red blood cells now. So the red blood cells, their job is to carry oxygen and to also carry carbon dioxide, right? So they deal with the whole gaseous exchange, right? So in a nutshell, that is a simplified version of what blood is, okay? Now, the other thing that I would like to talk on really briefly is constipation. Now, I'm sure a lot of us think that we know what constipation is. I'm going to read a little excerpt from the Mayo Clinic, and this is what they're saying. They're saying chronic constipation is infrequent bowel movements or difficulty passing stool that persists over several weeks or longer. Now, that makes you say, then meaning constipated, right? They go on. They say constipation is also generally described as the feeling of having passed fewer stools than 3 per week. So in other words, and right now, this one actually, that sounds like almost all of us, right? Because the odd person, they will say, boy, you go file it every day. But if you have 7 days in a week and you're going fewer than 3 times or roughly 3 times a week, what they're saying, right, is probably you're more than likely suffering from constipation. Now, there's another classification where you're looking at the stool itself, right, or the deposit. And you can know, depending on how that deposit looks, you can tell if you're running in danger of becoming constipated or not, right? And now you can pull it up on your computer and you'll notice that we have what we call a stool chart. Now, if your stools are looking a certain way, right, you're having, round pellet, hard, dry appearing stools, then you're more than likely going into that danger zone, okay, where you can probably become constipated. And if you have liquid stools, then more than likely you're having a diarrhea, okay? So that is something that I would like for everyone to understand. Shango, you with me?
Oh, sure. I'm right here.
Yeah, man. Good stuff. Right? So these are some of the general pointers that we need to keep in mind. So we're at the top of the hour. We're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back.
This is Observer Radio, 91.1 FM.
You're listening to the Be Healthy Show on New School Observer Radio.
All right, so we're back from our little short intermission. So for the next minute or two, I'm going to talk very briefly on toxins and what this whole detoxification thing, because Shango, everybody needs a detox. But what is this detox, What are we talking about? So there are different levels of detoxification, right? And there are some levels that we can do on our own by changing our diet, eating adequate amount of fiber. We drink a lot of water, right? And that will do the job. However, there's some of us that may be suffering from constipation-like problems or other problems that, like, for example, thyroid disease and so forth, where you may need additional help far above just regular eating food, okay? Now, us professionals, we come into the whole makeup for those individuals who may be having a problem or are just generally concerned about their general well-being. So in Be Healthy, we tend to do weight loss plans, and one of the things that we tend to do before we start anyone on a plan is we try and get them to do what we call fecal debulking, right? So we give you some, different things to drink, right? And what they do is they make you pass stool. And the average person says, what? I just lost 10 pounds. I lost 5 pounds, right? You know what that says to me? That says to me that the average person is walking around with roughly 10 pounds of stool inside them, okay? So that's where colonic hydrotherapy and these things will come in, because they actually allow the release of all of these matters from the walls and, an increased level of elimination, right? But I won't touch on that. I'll leave that one to Shango, okay? So what are some of the things that we can't get from those methods? We can't remove mercury, okay? Mercury is typically used in dental fillings. We use it in some skincare items. Some clothing items would tend to have in mercury. And when it goes into your body, right, it tends to be a very difficult thing to get out, almost near impossible. So, for example, the amount of mercury you'd find in one dental filling is enough by law to close, let's say, a lake, right, with about 10 acres in size, right? That's enough mercury. So can you imagine if that lake is not safe for you to swim in, how safe then would it be for you to have it in your mouth? Then we have aluminium. Now, I need to talk about this one. I'm seeing a lot of people cooking on aluminium. Don't do it. Don't do it, right? We have the grill, and we put the file on top because it's nice and shiny and clean, right? And then we grill our meats, and then halfway through the grill, you can see the edges of the file paper like it burned, like it's corroding, and we don't understand why. It's because the file paper is burning, turning into gas, you're breathing it in, it's going inside of your food, you're eating it, and you're poisoning yourself. And when you do that, that leads to other problems like dementia, diabetes, hypertension, and let me just leave it at that. Then we have lead. Lead is a very, very common toxin. Then we have boron, right? Then we have nickel. Nickel is what we use to make stainless steel. That's another toxin. Then we have arsenic. That one is very commonly found in cigarette smoke. It's also found in laundry detergent, beers, some seafood, rice. Then we continue over to cadmium, right? Cadmium, the level of cadmium toxicity is normally found due to cigarette smoke, right? When you smoke, you get a lot of cadmium that way. And the other way, or the other people most at risk, is vegan vegetarians because of the increased consumption of green leafy vegetables, okay? And the last toxin that I want to leave on everybody's mind, that I want everyone to think about, is uranium and plutonium, the things that we use to make the atom bombs and these things. Now, we know that they have let them off on Earth. Just the other day, we had the Sahara dust, and the Sahara dust made Kilawi. A little wind blew over Africa, and the whole Western Hemisphere was peppered with this dust. Okay? So my question is this. If a little breeze can blow and it reach straight over ocean. Hi, caller.
Damien.
Yes. Hello. Hello, you're on here?
Yes, I'm going to hang up and then call you back because it's a 1 minute on the telephone to see you.
Okay. Right. So what happens when you have these bombs blowing up all over the world? Those things plume and go all the way out to space. So is it not likely for us to be inhaling and ingesting all of this radioactive material? Right? That could also be, a part of the Sahara dust. Because it's over that side, they're having all these bars anyway. Right? So just food for thought. So I'm going to hand over to you, my brother Shango, for you to do your section.
Okay, so we were talking about constipation. I like to always introduce the male and female principle because of duality still exists in the universe. So everything is broken down that way, just like looking at systolic pressure and diastolic pressure. Diastolic is female, systolic is male. So in holistic...
the caller's back? Hi, caller?
Yes, I'm back. You just came me a little while, and I'm a cancer survivor, and I'm using file paper for 2 years now, and they just came me a little while, so I have to stop using it again now.
Yes. It's a very, very bad thing, and I'm seeing it very popular, right?
So, well, maybe stop use it then and not cover to anything. So what me for use now when me putting anything in the oven?
Okay, so if you're going to get something in the oven, what you mean, like a dish? Try and get the Pyrex, the glass ones.
Yeah.
right? Try and get glass. Glass is the safest of all the options. There's also a type of rubber that you call silicone, right?
Well, anyway, I'll hang up and listen.
Okay, no problem. All right? So you could use glass, you could use silicone, you could even use stainless steel, right? Because the amount of nickel that you would be getting from the stainless steel is a lot less than you'd be getting from the aluminum, right? And if you notice, a lot of these pots and pans right now that are coming out, they're all aluminum, right? And nothing tall, sweeter, Shango, than the bun from the bottom of the pot. And then you scrape that out, and you can imagine the amount of aluminum you're eating, right, when you do that. Now,
tell me about that.
What, you know, and one, you know, I know I'm stealing your time, but I'm going to...
No. Go right ahead. It's our time, not my time.
So look here. When we have foil paper, right, we take the aluminum in the foil paper for granted, right? And somebody, when I brought it to their attention, they say, "But man, the grill dirty, right? You can't, scrub grill straight." I say, listen, just let the heat sanitize it, right? You don't have to be too clean. When they come up and it burn off, good. You can brush it 2 times and put what you put in and everything good. Okay? So that's why we say to people. Yes.
Just to interject, my uncle, one time I visited my uncle in Dominica, and he taught me something that was just so good. What he said to me is that when you are cooking and this is aluminum pot, mind you, right? Because back then we didn't know anything about stainless steel. And one of the things he said to me is that when it makes that film, that plaque on the bottom, and normally when we cook and the food gets burnt, he said, don't remove it. Don't attempt to scrape it off with metal or anything. Let it, build up. Because once it builds up, it will work as a natural non-stick, right? Natural non-stick material that you fry your stick is not going to stick, just like the metallic, the metallic bottom they used to have back in the days, right? I think they're still making them, which is a non-stick type of material. And he also said it will also shield the aluminum stop the aluminum from coming through. So it works as a plaque, just the same way like, mucoid plaque in the colon and so on. So it works as a plaque. So he said, don't scrape it, don't remove it. And I've been practicing that. And let me tell you something, it's magical. Because if it works in the aluminum, imagine in the stainless steel, that's not as harmful as in aluminum. So just want to add that, so folks, listeners can apply that method, because it's useful and it will protect you from some of these, as you mentioned, harmless metals, So go ahead.
No, it's you were telling us about
okay.
You're talking about male and female.
Yes, so we're looking at 2 sides of constipation. With diarrhea is the masculine side. Right? So a lot of people don't know that diarrhea is also a form of constipation, because you're not absorbing. So things are just running straight ahead, just running through, just passing through. It's like foods that are not breaking down because it's moving too fast, So you always have the 2 extremes. It's either you're going too fast or you're going too slow. So folks have to look at that as well. Another another area that we're looking at, because you mentioned folks that will have maybe 3 bowel movements per week, folks that will have maybe 5, some people may have 7, right? Now we want to take it a little closer and look at our daily movements, right? Because we should really have a bowel movement per meal. Meal. So if we eat 3 meals per day, then we should have 3 bowel movements the following day, right? So that brings it a little closer. Now, folks can have 2 bowel movements per day and still be constipated. So it's just different degrees. You can have chronic constipation, okay, that's when you're not going at all, or missing so many days. But then having 2 bowel movements a day, you can still be constipated. 1, mucoid plaque. You can have uneliminated fecal matter that been hanging around on the walls of the the intestine. Also, you could be having a bowel movement today for, let's say today, Thursday, for Monday. You're passing Mondays to today, Thursday, working like a conveyor belt, where one thing goes on at the front and it pushes the next one and the next one, the domino effect, and the one all the way at the end fall off. So because sometimes I would tell a person doing iridology, looking in the eyes and saying, hey, you're constipated. And say, oh, no, I'm not constipated. I have a bowel movement every day. And then I'll investigate, I'll dig a little deeper by interviewing that person. I'll say, okay, so how many meals do you have per day? Well, I have 3 meals a day, and then let us include the snacks, right? Because they are meals too, right? Let us include the snacks. And by the time we include the snacks, it amounts to about 5, 6, or 7 meals, right, per day. But you're having one bowel movement. So where the rest gone? You see? Let's look at also things that I have a bunch of things to say, but I'm just going to cut it short. Let us look at causes, right? So we're looking at the cause of constipation. A lot of people do not make the link between dehydration and constipation, because dehydration will certainly fuel constipation because we need the liquid to have things loosen up and move and to move things along, right? Even when you spoke about the blood earlier, right, the blood. A lot of people don't realize that a lot of times when you think you're actually losing blood, it's fluid you're losing. A lot of, times you're dehydrated, because just like when a person gets electrocuted, what do you think happens? The blood dries up, right? So, true. So heat, anger, certain emotions will also fuel this type of situation that we're talking about. A person that's constantly, angry and not drinking enough fluid, drinking enough water. And let me say water, not just fluid, because folks may think, you could go there and buy a soda, buy some sweet beverage, juice, and that will replace, But we have to remember that the kidneys, part of its job is to dilute anything that's over-concentrated, or to concentrate anything that's too diluted according to the story, right? So you want to consume water so it could neutralize most of the acid, most of the toxic material, and flush them out of the system via the kidneys and blood and so on. So, just to go back a little into the whole constipation situation that we're talking about. Also, when you look at constipation, I like to look at constipation holistically as well, as to how your mind can also bring you into some of these states. Because when we talk about the mind, we're talking about the ultimate. And I'm saying that because I've had the experience of giving clients, all the right things, and still there are difficulties. And then we have to go into the mind. Constipation of the mind, meaning that if you're not expressing yourself, then you're experiencing what we call mental constipation, right? Or emotional constipation, because you're not expressing yourself. It's just like, for example, we can talk about the 4 ways of eliminating waste from the human body. So we look at, the intestinal system, we look at the urinary system, we're looking at the airways, and with the other system, the lymphatic system. So that's the basic 4. But there's one that we didn't take a look at, which is the nervous system, because that's where the tension and so on coming in. And that's where you need to express. So some folks may have a punching bag at home. We see children do it a lot. When they get frustrated, they stamp and they storm off, and, some people express by cursing and so on. As much as we want to say, we want to look down at cursing, it's another form of elimination. It's another form of expression. X is going out, So, to me, when a person is in, a certain situation, it's best for them to open their mouth and let it out. Let's look at Bell Palsy. I know we're talking about constipation, but, just going off on a branch to make this clear. Bell's palsy, right? When you read up on the emotional side of Bell's palsy, right? Even though we know it's a derivative from some of them pathogens that cause herpes and so on, right? But when you look at the emotional side, it's a person that are very controlled, like those that are a little vagabondish. As soon as something goes wrong, they cuss you out. But at least they're getting it out. Now, those controlled folks, like the introverts, that would just try to contain themselves, the prim and proper, are the most vulnerable when it comes to Bell's palsy. You follow? You follow me, Doc?
Yeah, man.
Yeah, because of lack of expression. And the funny thing, a person that's constipated physically, when it comes to the emotional side, is equivalent to that, because those are the folks that do not fully express, or what you say, holding on to old fecal matter. I don't want to say the word, you know what I mean? But you know what I mean. Holding on to the old crap. Crap. I can use that. Right? And when you look at the language that we speak, as I like to repeat, the wisdom of a culture is very deep within its language. When you look at the language, we say the person full of it. You know what I mean? I left off the SH, right? For the radio's sake. Right? The person is full of it. Because it's literal. The person is toxic. You're holding all this stuff in. So when you open your mouth to express what you do, you just roll them out, And this is why, as bad as it may appear when a person curses or express, I have no problem. I have no problem when a person opens up their mouth and cuss. Because then it's more space out there than in here. So just let it out. Like the people that would, for ethics sake, that they would hold their fart, They would hold the gas, in a nice way of saying it. They would hold their gas in. You know how devastating that is. Because the body is already telling you what it needs, what we call biological intelligence, is saying that you need this unwanted gas out. So to hold it back, it can be devastating because of something the body is rejecting or, getting rid of. Also, we're talking about solid as constipation, but I want to just do it holistically, kind of look at it holistically. So let's look at urine, and I sympathize. Every time we go to urine, I sympathize with the ladies because they don't have it as easy as us men. We whip it out anywhere, but women have to go through, and the whole ethical thing, you don't want to just squat and pass it out anywhere, people are looking and all that stuff.
That's your free.
So ladies tend to hold on to the urine. Now, when you talk about reabsorption, what do you think happening? All that waste starts to reabsorb because once it it's just like missing your exit. For those of us that have traveled to the U.S. and, those bigger countries, we know how the road system set up. Okay, don't miss your exit. Because you may be driving around for another hour, half hour to get back on track, right? So when you're looking at the body and the cycle, this cyclic circular type of situation, once that time comes, I call it the biological timing. Once that time comes for elimination, you don't want to be late because then it circles, it recycles. So it goes around again. Who's picking it up? The blood. The blood. So all these extra toxins now, assault in the blood. Then what happens? Blood starts to get thicker. Now we have another situation. We end up with hypertension, high blood pressure, out of constipation. So this is why constipation is so serious. Because, there's so much we spin off of that. There's not one disease we cannot say that constipation fuel, right? Because we're talking about toxic overload. And this is why I had a client call me today concerning, mucus congestion. And I'm saying to the sister, take a laxative. But I'm congested. What does it have to do with it's up in my bronchioles, my breathing passage, not down there. And I'm saying, but how it got up there? Now, you live in an upstairs and downstairs, as we locally call it, house. You have steps that take you from downstairs to upstairs. Now the bottom step, right, is always at the bottom, but those that are taking you up, they have to build upon that. That's why you have what they call foundation. In our culture, we call it groundation, because you're not finding nothing, right? So you have the groundation that you build on. Now, the beauty about us as humans, we have a bottom that's open and shut. So after a certain, amount of stuff, material that we consume, then the signal will be given for us to evacuate, to release it, and that's how it works. Now, if the airway is blocked, then what do you think happened? How do you think the coal come into existence? It's because of the uneliminated fecal matter and the waste material that causing a build-up. Now it's called cold condition. Now let's look at the part of the body that we're talking about, because we're discussing constipation. That part of the body is called the colon. Now lots of folks know, how did they arrive at that term? Because the people that gave us that language came from Iceland, the cold land. Right? So we can say England, Europe, wherever, the cold land. So that particular area, is called the colon, because that's when the material that you consume starts slowing down. The small intestine, because the small intestine is a hot air tube, you have more activity, because we know heat moves and cold stagnates. So, anybody that don't agree, just put the water in the freezer. You see what happens. Take it out of the freezer, put it on the stove. You're going to see what happens. Now you're going to get activity. You're going to get movement. So that colon, once it becomes congested, then it creates, or create the situation we're talking about with mucus congestion and all of that, because you're building up. So I'm very successful when I have situations with our clients that are congested to have them use laxatives, some form of laxative. Open up the bottom, release. So what's at the top could have the room to go down. Make any sense, Doc? I just want to know if I'm clear.
Yeah, you're clear. You're clear. It's just that, we always look at things differently. But I can see and understand where you're coming from. That's why it's always beneficial to hear the two sides of the coin,
Absolutely, the laws of duality. Because a brother came to me and he came on all fours. That means he was crawling into the room on his knees. Okay? He was experiencing severe pain. Right? And pain in the testicles and so on. And let me tell you, what I did with him, flush him out. Right? So that means I gave him a laxative, and then we put him in a colonic machine. He walked out. He came in on all fours. He went out in twos. Just releasing and taking the pressure off. So we know how important that is to have a clean colon. And how important it is for the blood. Because the power is in the blood. We sing it in church. I wonder how many people take that seriously. Because you change the quality of your blood, you also change the quality of your life. Because the blood is everything.
I mean, when you come to me and I'm going to test how healthy you are, I test your blood.
Absolutely. So, so just looking at it that way and quality water, consuming quality water, right? Having foods that are high in magnesium, herbs that are high in magnesium, because we know what magnesium do. It relaxes the body, right? And this is why milk of magnesia is a laxative, because the overdose of magnesium will have this laxative effect on the human body by relaxing the body. And this is one thing I would like to share with the listeners as well. For emergency, anytime a person has any, elevated blood pressure and you want to save them because, stroke, you're starting all over again. You have to learn how to walk again and talk again. No, we don't need that. We almost don't even want that for our enemy. Almost. Right? So, what you want to do is to take an overdose of magnesium to totally relax, the muscles, so that free flow of blood could take place. What time we are?
Exactly. We're almost at the end of the show. We should be wrapping up soon. Well, finish your thought.
Okay. Yeah. So you finish up. I mean, I think I've said as much. I mean, there's much more, but yeah, you can close it out.
Yeah, man. Well, boy, the reality is, on any topic, any given topic, we could probably talk days, huh? Because not only of what we have studied and learned, but also from what we have experienced from work, you know. So I just want to go it over again with regards to constipation to reinforce what Shango just said. Even if you're having stool deposits every day, but your stools are separated, lumpy, you know, those little droplets, you can consider that as constipation, even if you're having it every day. As he said, it might be that, you know what I mean, what you're letting out now is from 3-4 days ago, you know. But according to Mayo Clinic, it is looked on as if you have fewer than 3 stools per week. But there is that reality that you can be going every day, but you're leaving back from all the time and it's starting to back up. And the appearance of your stool look like, you know, these separated pellets, hard, you know, lumps. That is cause for concern. Or you come out like goat poo. You know, goat poo. How it's one sausage-looking shape, but you're seeing the 1 ton of balls stuck together. Right? All of those are signs that when you look at them, right, that's what we would call constipation stool, right? And you need to do something about it because constipation has been known to lead to colon cancer, okay? So you need to make sure that you have a healthy bowel habit. All of these things in line with living healthy and staying well, okay? So I just want to wrap up the show, and I want to thank everyone for listening. This has been the Be Healthy Show, brought to you in part by Frank D. Armstrong and Choba Marketing. These are our sponsors. If you enjoy the show and you like listening to the show, let our sponsors know and ask them to keep us on. You know, that's how you'll be able to continue hearing the show, and we'll be able to be with you. So you could find me at Be Healthy. We're located on the Old Palm Road. That's to the west of Top Rankin or Subway, right? So we're in the Western Union building on Old Palm Road. Our phone numbers, if you'd like to call, we're having severe phone problems. Things rough. A patient of mine made a joke saying maybe APA caught COVID. Right? But our phone lines are having real problems. So if you're having some trouble to get in with us, please just bear with us. So you could call us at 562-8833. That's 562-8833. Shango, you still there? Oh, he's left out. Okay. So guys, stay tuned and be with us until next week for another edition of the Be Healthy Show. All right? Good night.
There's nothing like having the right accessories for your portable devices. It makes them function seamlessly with all your other portable at-home work and play. There is no place like Choba Marketing to find all your needs. All our accessories make your device function better, look better, and last longer. So come visit us at number 55 Public Market for all your needs. We are open from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday, and Saturday from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. Choba for all your needs.
Watch yourself, Roy! You think you're a young boy again?
Age is just a number. I'm making sure I can play with my kids until they're big and strong like their dad.
Really? How is that? You have a new tonic?
No. 7 Seas cod liver oil once a day makes me feel younger every day. It has vitamin A and D and omega-3 to keep my mind sharp, my bones strong, and my immune system healthy for longer. Good! You see that? I'm as strong as ever.
7 Seas cod liver oil is the trusted source for nature's richest resource. Feel younger for longer.